I'm gonna be able to stop making this video one day, because I've made this video before and I know I'm gonna make it again. I'm gonna make the same exact video, not quite verbatim, but with the same exact messages in it that I've already made multiple times right now. So if you're watching, congratulations, welcome back to the shit show that is our world that we're currently living in. Since no one's on, I'm not going to say what I'm going to do with comments until later, unless someone shows up. And then in that case, I am going to respond to any comments. I'm just not going to be responding to comments until the end. And even then, I don't know if I'm going to be in the mood, but we're doing this video fucking again. And I'm not really happy about it, but tough shit. So, um, just a precursor, okay, to what's going on here is that I used to believe the exact opposite of what I'm about to tell you. The core issue here, what I'm about to tell you in a moment, like I used to be on the complete other side of the spectrum. I used to be your biggest transgender warrior, even though I myself was not trans, thanks be to God. I used to know all the phrases. I used to know all the terms. Da 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 da. I still know a lot of the terms, but they change over time. But I'm just saying, I used to be on the exact opposite side of the spectrum. Okay? And I think that people don't realize that when they at least hear my point of view. They don't understand that I used to be absolutely not where I am. They don't understand that I used to be on the exact opposite of this issue, on the exact opposite side of this issue. And I feel like if someone does do that, if someone swaps sides, you should be able to you should be better able to ask that person why in fact they decided to swap sides on this issue. um, in all seriousness, I recently had a friend who was pro-choice, but she went from being pro-choice to being pro-life, and we talked about it for a long time. And I don't agree with her, but I had her walk me through. I was like, "How did you come to this conclusion? You know, what changed in your beliefs?" And she told me everything. She said, "Well, this happened, this happened, this happened. I read this, da 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 da." And I was like, "Okay, that's up to you. You are entitled to your beliefs." Even though I totally disagree with her, she's entitled to her belief. And she did actually like come to this conclusion in a reasonable way. Like this is actually what she really believes, and she's free to think that, right? But anyway, the reason I tell you that is that the reason I'm even fucking making this video is I had a really unfortunate interaction with someone, and we're gonna go through all of it now, but it's such a fucking goddamn rabbit hole, and I'm really sorry that I have to make this video fucking again, but I do. Okay, so this is one of my Christmas presents to you. I have more, but I care about all of you. I just want to say I care about all of you, and I am really happy that you've been here for me. I'm really happy that you're on here, even if you're trying to troll. I got some loyal trolls out there. It's pretty interesting. Loyal trolls are fans. Um, Thank you for watching, and thank you for being a fan of mine, and thank you for listening, even if you're not like all up in all of it, even if you don't even understand where I'm coming from, if you've not been here throughout the years, that's okay. I'm glad you're here now. I said this earlier, I think before any of y'all were here, and that's that I'm not going to respond to any comments unless I ask you, um, until the end of the stream. And you may make comments. I'm just not gonna respond to them. Yeah, and I think I will do like Q&A at the very end, but we ain't doing that right now. Okay, so I had a meal with my friend recently, and I'm gonna call her Diane. That's not her real name, but that's her name in this. And all I'm gonna say is that she's a medical professional. I'm not gonna say what exactly her position is or anything of that nature, but she's a medical professional, okay? Um, so I had a meal with her recently, and I was actually telling her about this new guy that I like. And she was like, "Oh, why do you like him?" And I was like, "Well, this, that, and the third, and he's not a brain rot liberal." And I know that's one of my little terms that I use, and not everyone knows it. It's okay. But she was like, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And I have no problem with her asking me that. And she didn't even let me finish at all because liberals just get this way. Liberals just get this way. Um, what I was going to say was to her question of what is a brain rot liberal was you can be a brain rot any political affiliation. It doesn't have to be liberal. You can be a brain rot conservative. You can be a brain rot libertarian. You can be a brain rot dirty hippie. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that anyone with political affiliation brain rot is someone who doesn't even fully examine their own beliefs. It's someone who has learned the mantras and the prayers and the words that you're supposed to say about certain issues. And if you actually really try to examine their beliefs and you actually really try to see where they're coming from and you actually kind of like probe them for their beliefs, a lot of the time they'll get defensive and not be able to talk about it anymore because you're asking them questions that they themselves have not thought of. They aren't even aware of the fact that they have barely thought about these issues. They barely know why they believe this thing. They just know that it's the right thing to say for their political affiliation, so they say it, and therefore they believe it. Right? But they haven't even really truly come to a conclusion on their own by their own volition. Okay? So, anyway, I was telling my friend that I like this guy that I like because he's not a brain rot liberal. And she's like, "Well, what does that mean?" And I was going to explain that to her. And she just brought this up. I didn't bring it up. I try not to bring it up because I don't fucking like talking about it. But she was like, I'm just never going to agree with you on the trans issue. And I was like, okay. And she really wanted to talk about it. She basically went on this huge, like, virtue signaling display of her loyalty to the trans cult, a display of loyalty to the thinking in her line of work, display of loyalty to being liberal. Okay. And she was like, because this, because this, because this. And I was like, I was just questioning her beliefs as she was telling me them. She was like, yeah, well, most people who get the surgeries, they don't regret it. And I was like, plenty of them do. Plenty of them actually do. And I, of course, brought up the study that I love bringing up, which is the longest study ever done on transgender people, where over a 30-year period, they determined that people who got surgeries to appear more like their desired sex were more likely to kill themselves and more likely to be depressed than people who did not get surgeries to appear more like their desired sex. Okay. But of course, she just ignored that. And I also brought up the fact that, like, whenever you get any type of cosmetic surgery, which I'm also totally against, but I can't stop anyone, anytime you get any type of cosmetic surgery, you're supposed to, have your time of recovery, and then eventually you're supposed to heal, and then you're supposed to go back to your way of life. You're supposed to have zero issue going back to your way of life with all the abilities that you had prior to this surgery. And that's any type of surgery, liposuction, a fake butt, if you're getting a breast augmentation, if you're getting your ears pinned, if you're getting a nose job, if you're getting buccal fat removal, it doesn't matter. Any type of cosmetic surgery, you're supposed to, yes, heal for a period of time, and then you're supposed to be back to your normal life. And the trans surgeries flat out do not provide that. Okay? They are flat out fucked up. They are flat out wrong. People who experience these surgeries do not go back to their normal lives. They more often than not don't have sexual function of their genitals if they had a genital fucking with surgery. They definitely don't have function of their breasts if they had a double mastectomy. And I also brought up the fact that there are 3 trans girls. I can't remember if it's 3 or 4. Either way, it's very upsetting. There are 3 trans girls, children, then there are 3 to 1. 3 to 1 girls to boys. 3 girls to 1 boy that are trans as children. Okay? And that should be a major fucking red flag for you. And especially, and I also brought up the fact that, like, a lot of trans people have personality issues. A lot of trans people have psychological issues. And she was just like didn't care about it. She just had to do this really big display of how loyal she was to the trans cult. And it's really upsetting to me because hearing this from a woman who's older than me, I'm 33, by the way. Hearing this from a woman who is a few years older than me, who's also a medical professional, just say straight up, flat up and down, yeah, I believe in non-binary. And she also treats people sometimes who are having really severe mental health issues. Okay, it does occur. And people have these really serious delusions, like they're going to get on the phone with the president, like they're in the CIA. They have thousands and thousands of doting fans. I saw a woman on Dr. Phil. It's an older video, but there's a woman that you can look up right now, who was on Dr. Phil, who was this American woman who was convinced that she was in a romantic relationship with Vladimir Putin. And they had never, in fact, met. I don't think she'd ever even been to Russia. But she was convinced that she was in a romantic relationship with him, for real. Okay? So people with psychological issues have all these delusions, and they have all these really out there beliefs, and people know that people that treat them right, they know that those are delusions. They know that this person doesn't have a phone call with the president in 10 minutes, but they're drawing this weird fucking line to say, oh, well, it's okay if someone believes that they're the sex that they are not. That's allowed. That's someone who's sane. That's someone who's of sound mind. What in the fuck? And this is our medical system, you guys. We're supposed to be one of the most advanced nations in the world. And we have Dr. Mama Jones out here saying that, like, transgenderism is real, and if you have the gender conforming, gender affirming surgeries, then you're the other sex. Like, this is a medical professional. There are medical professionals who also say things like chest feeding and birthing parent. And there are also people who artificially assist women who have had double mastectomies to become pregnant. I am convinced that not being religious, not having a sense of responsibility, because you don't have to be religious to have a sense of responsibility, is ruining this nation. It's causing people to not understand how to give boundaries, and it's causing people to say stupid shit like, I think people should just be able to do whatever they want. Do grown-ass adults hear themselves saying that shit? I think that people should be able to do whatever they want, because that is just the most insane. Of course they only say that in the context of transgenderism. That's the only time that I think people should be able to do whatever they want comes up. Wouldn't it be great if we lived in a world where you couldn't become obese because it was made physically impossible for you? Or if you were obese, you could get to an actual place and way that you could be helped? Wouldn't it be great if we lived in a world with zero drug addicts, zero murderers, zero really awful, horrible things happening to people? Yeah, it would. But the fact of the matter is that we don't live in that world. Okay? And the fact of the matter is that transgenderism is medical abuse, point blank, all the time. Okay? I don't care who you are. I don't care what your situation is. I don't fucking care how old you were when you remembered your first preschool fucking memory of liking a boy thing. Like, I swore I'd stick to my notes, but now I haven't. Okay. So, a lack of believing in God, a lack of belief in God, or a lack of responsibility. Because you don't have to believe in God to know that, you're an adult, you're someone who should be being an example to others, You don't need to believe in God to believe that. So I'm calling that a sense of responsibility. So plenty of these people out here in the world don't have a God in their life. They have no religion. They have no higher power to speak to. They have no belief in anything, which is first of all bullshit. But they are out here not believing in God and not having a sense of responsibility to our youth and to whoever it is that they might be an example to. Okay? When that happens, then that causes people to create fewer boundaries. And when we create fewer boundaries with people, especially, oh, I don't know, our children, it's gonna be a problem. Okay, so transgenderism is a cult, and I've said this so many fucking times. I can't even count. I've said this so many times. Y'all, if you're a newcomer, scroll the fuck back to 2018 on my feed and find me saying this shit 5 years ago. Okay, almost 6 years ago now. All right? It's a cult, and there's not really anything anyone can say to convince me otherwise because it is. So I don't remember who created this, but there's something called the BITE model, which is guidelines for when something is a cult. Okay, and BITE stands for behavior, information, thinking, and emotions. All right. Now, to be a good liberal within the trans trend, come on over. To be a good liberal within the trans cult, something for behavior that you have to do. How did you ruin my shot so much? A behavior that you have to do when you're a liberal in the trans cult is profess your love for the transes. You have to, do what my friend did when I told you earlier. She had to, talk about how I'm never going to convince her to believe what I believe, when me merely asking questions about her beliefs makes her feel attacked, because you do need to ask questions about things. And you do need to, I also said, okay, because there are so many elective, unnecessary double mastectomies happening right now because women want to pretend that they're men in a more cosplay LARPy way. Because there's so many of those surgeries happening, it's actually making it harder for women who have breast cancer and need double mastectomies to get them, because they're backed up giving these confused children these surgeries. I'm like, is that good? Of course she didn't pay attention to that and said nothing about it, but that's another great example of information. Behavior, information, thinking, emotions. When you are in the trans cult, you only get information from the trans cult itself. You only ascribe to the beliefs that are acceptable within the trans cult. And the medical industry has fallen prey to that completely. The medical industry completely adopted trans cult beliefs in any and every way they possibly could. Obviously, they don't. They do, but they don't. Like, you'll fill out a form that says one thing, but someone will actually observe your sex and make note of it, probably on your record. Thinking. Behavior, information, thinking, and emotions. So within the trans cult, you're not supposed to think something like, there are people who regret it. You're not supposed to think something like, I don't know if that person getting surgery is a good idea. You're not supposed to think turfy thoughts, right? Because that's not acceptable within the cult. That's not okay. And it also deals with your emotions, behavior, information, thinking, and emotions. And you're supposed to get emotional when people don't believe in transgenderism. You're supposed to tell that person they're a bad person. People come to the trans cult. Honestly, what they did was so clever. I have to give it to them. People come to the trans cult because it's, presented in this way that it's the right side of history, that it's the correct perspective. It's the compassionate perspective. When the fact of the matter is, it's not any of those three things. It is the opposite of those three things. I promise you, I'm saying this now, and be really thankful if you're here to witness it firsthand, because then you can say, I was there. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, people in the medical industry, because it's still going to be an industry, people in the medical field will look back at this time in history and say, I cannot believe that all these people were given trans surgeries. I cannot believe that this was an acceptable way to treat people medically. Okay? You're not just giving someone advice. You're not just giving them a pill that you're not even gonna that they're not even required to actually take. Okay? These people who have mental issues are in fact being preyed upon, and they are in fact not being treated correctly. Okay, I'm going to give you another example, and this doesn't really have anything to do with the trans cult. I know someone who's going through a really difficult time right now. She's had a lot of issues her whole life, and finally those issues are just kind of bubbling to the surface. And I asked her recently, because she was very upset and we talked for a long time, I said, do you think you should go to a psych ward? Because she's not doing well. Okay? And she was like, no. Because she has had intensive therapy for more than 3 months. She has had intensive psychiatric care for more than 3 months. She has had a lot of medical attention for her mental state for months. Okay? And she doesn't feel like she's improved. She doesn't feel like any of it is actually helping her. And so she's right that if she went to a psych ward, it probably wouldn't help her. And I don't like saying that, but it's true, because I know what some of the methods are in psych wards. I know how they try to treat you in psych wards, and it just wouldn't be a productive visit for her at all. Like, she's right. And it sucks that that's where we're at, but that's where we're at. Okay? That's where we are. And I know that people who are in the medical profession are really afraid to admit that anything's wrong. Let me tell you guys something that is really frightening. And that is the fact that it takes an average. This is just the average. Okay? It varies a lot, but it takes an average of 17 years for medical opinions to change. For a medical opinion on something to change. Did you guys know? Did any of you know that babies were not given proper aesthetic, proper painkillers until something like 1987? Because doctors didn't think they had, developed enough brains to feel pain. The fact of the matter is that the medical industry has always, always, always been a lot of trial and error. It's always been a lot of wrong things before they got one thing right. And when someone doesn't have God or religion in their life, that's why people a lot of the time flock to something like the medical industry, because the studies, those are God. The authority and the prestige of the medical industry, those are God too. Those are what you submit to. Okay? When people have it in their minds that there actually is a higher intelligence, a higher being watching us, looking out for us, trying to understand us, trying to help us, that makes something like the prestige of the medical industry look foolish. Because a lot of the time it is foolish. Okay? Mark my fucking words. No one is going to be treating the trans cult like this anymore. I mean, they are, obviously. In 40 years. They won't be treating them like this in 40 years. This will be a completely, all the transgender surgeries will be completely obsolete. I promise you. It's not going to be a thing anymore, because the fact of the matter is that these people are being sterilized. Stop. I spooked him a little bit. These people are being sterilized. Okay, children are being sterilized. You know what else happens to people who get these surgeries, especially the genital surgeries, is they die. Okay, they die trying to cosplay. They die trying to appear more how they think they might want to appear. Like I said earlier, if you get any kind of cosmetic surgery, you are expected to function normally after healing from it. You do not function normally after healing from a trans surgery, and a lot of them are just being made up at this rate. A lot of them are surgeons who don't know what they're doing. A lot of them are surgeons who are just making shit up on the spot. I can't remember her name. If any of y'all know her name in the comments, please say it. That one woman who works in Florida, who you can't sue because there's some kind of loophole in her paperwork. You can't sue her for medical malpractice because she's got the right paperwork and she has some kind of private practice. But that woman who's botching people, she's botching women, essentially. She's botching a lot of women. That's another thing, you guys. I've watched a little bit of television in the last few days, and it's around Christmas time. Honestly, I got to give it to these people who put these ads up. People, and there was like so there are a lot of ads up right now begging for money, of different organizations begging for money. There's one on that I cannot watch that's about helping animals, and they've got all these mistreated, starving, likely gonna die soon animals, and they're like, please give us money, please give us money. It's so urgent, we need to give money to these animals. And you want to. That's why I can't watch it, because if I watched it, I would fucking call them up and give them shit tons of money. Like, what I'm saying is they're clever in that they put their begging ads at the end of the year around Christmas time, because they know that people are feeling more compassionate at the time of Christmas. Okay? So anyway, I saw this ad, one of these begging ads, and it was for Planned Parenthood. And they were like begging for all this shit, and not once in the entire ad did they say woman or women. That word is being erased. Like, is that a good thing? Is that a good thing that the word woman and the word mother they're trying to erase those words? This is such a fucking rabbit hole, and I can't even really deal with it. And I did say this was going to happen, and it's going to happen more. It's going to continue to happen, which is there already are people who are now adults that were children, and they were sterilized as children, that are taking legal action against hospitals and medical professionals for the surgeries they received as children. Okay, that's going to keep happening. Like, is that good? Is it good that that's happening? It's not. It's bad. And transgenderism is this giant fucking cult that's entirely based upon sexist stereotypes. Like, something an old friend of mine used to say is trans women are men poorly performing their favorite sexist stereotypes. And it's true. There are more trans guys. There are more FTM, female to male, than there are MTF young folk, because it sucks to be a woman. And women are out here being shit examples and not giving women reasons to want to be women. And a lot of these people who are trans are from really like traditional backgrounds where they're not allowed to play with the toys they want to play with, which is fucked up. Which is entirely fucked up. Like, just because your kid plays with a toy doesn't mean he or she is going to turn out to be gay. And if they are, is that really the worst thing? Is it? Okay, so another behavior that is in the trans cult is that you have to often, passionately proclaim that transes are the most oppressed victims of any other group. And if you don't believe that, then you're a bad person and you're on the wrong side of history. What in the fuck? We're really out here. We're really out here with hospitals and doctors and other medical professionals like rattling off this Tumblr bullshit. That's really where we are. And it makes me really feel sick to my stomach when I have to remind someone that there's no such thing, someone who's a medical professional, that there's no such thing as non-binary. Like, especially for someone who's, when people are like, because so many of these liberals are not religious and they basically have no God in their life or no higher power that they believe in. So for someone, and they shit on religion, which is absolutely their right. They may do that as much as they fucking like. They shit on religion and in the same breath use a term like non-binary, where the only proof of non-binary is someone using their words to say so, which is religious. It is insane. It's insane to me. Okay. Something that a lot of people are uncomfortable with is the fact that we actually can and do tell right from wrong. Okay? We can actually come to a reasonable conclusion that something is right or something is wrong. And when you do that a lot of the time, you realize that a lot of these popular beliefs, like something about, I don't know, gestational prostitution, is in fact prostitution. Okay? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for people who don't want to believe that, but it's a fact. Okay? Having a child, gestating a child, and birthing it is something that happens through sex. Okay? That is a sexual act. Sorry. And it doesn't matter if there's a third party facilitating the pregnancy through a medical front. The fact of the matter is that it's gestational prostitution. You are paying a woman to gestate a baby and give birth to it. And a lot of women, some women die doing that too. And a lot of the babies are born by a cesarean in those surrogacy farms over in India. And C-sections are not ideal for birth. But we don't even need to get into that because that's not this video. Maybe it will be this video. I don't know. I'm saying that just because surrogacy does not look like street prostitution doesn't mean that it's not prostitution. Thanks, Pirate, for ruining my fucking point. It doesn't mean that it's not prostitution. It is. Yeah, you're making more money than any prostitute out there. You're making upwards of 50 grand for gestating a child and giving birth to it. That is, if it happens. That's more money than any prostitute gets for doing a trick on the street. Period. But people's vision gets clouded when there's more money involved. They're like, well, they paid her $50,000. She could make a living off of that. We need to start acting like we know there's a right from wrong, because there is. There's a right answer and there's a wrong answer. And sometimes, in some situations, there's a more right answer and a more wrong answer. Sometimes the outcome, whatever it is shit. And you can only pick the option that is a slightly less shitty. Okay? But we know right from wrong, and we need to fucking start acting like it. I'll say this because I've already said it in other fucking videos and I'm sick of it. But I'll say it again, and that's that I know what I'm talking about. Like, people who get upset when they hear my beliefs on transgenderism act like I don't know what I'm talking about. When the fact of the matter is, I have likely now, okay, I'm serious about this. Now I get to say, hey kid, I knew about the trans cult before you were born because I did. Because the trans cult that I'm familiar with, that I was also in for 8 whole years, I was aware and in it in 2005. All right? That was a long time ago. So these teens that are trans now are younger than from when the first time I got like into the trans cult. They were not born at that point. Okay? Okay. I think I've said everything I want to say. Do you guys have any comments you want to make or questions? Now I can look at the comments. I didn't say, if y'all weren't here at the beginning, I did say that I wasn't going to respond to comments until the end, but here we are. I'm just going to read all the comments because these are fun. Thank you, Polar Knights. I give you a purple heart also. Eric Strand says, I've always enjoyed your stuff. Awesome, Elvin attire. Thank you so much. But Eric also said, womb havers is another horrid term I've heard. Yeah, that's really fucking stupid. That's a fucking stupid term. And the word for womb havers is women. That's what you say. Okay, I don't even think I finished my thought a little while ago. Was this Planned Parenthood ad didn't say the word women one time. And that's because they're pandering to the transes. They're pandering to people who are saying, you shouldn't say woman. Okay? Like, I use that tone of voice because it's insane. And I'm also going to say this, and that's the fact that if you're not a TERF at this rate in 2023, then you're still a girl mentally. If you don't understand the gravity of this bullshit cult, if you don't understand the necessity for us as a society and a world to get out of it, you're acting like a child. Sorry. I did see 60 Minutes Australia. I was honestly pretty shocked to see this because it ain't gonna happen on 60 Minutes USA. But I saw a 60 Minutes clip from Australia, and they were talking shit on Jazz Jennings in that show. And I was like, amazing. I didn't think we were ever going to get to this point, but here we are. Yum Yum said, I saw a Reddit moid boasting that he loved being an atheist because he could jerk off to porn all day. Like, question mark. Yeah. That's a cool way to rid yourself of any form of guilt. And people who watch pornography do feel guilt. They feel guilty after they've done it every single fucking time. And this guy was like, yeah, well, I don't even believe in God. And he had to keep telling himself that and tell himself that to make it okay that he jerked off to porn. Which is not someone who's thinking clearly. Yes, Polar Knights, anyone could be a degenerate, religious or not. Okay, Eric Strand said they surround each other in these hyperbaric chambers of constant love bombing. Absolutely. That's another one of their tactics, is that they love bomb people who are trans. They love bomb people who have done specific acts within the cult. They love bomb people who are performing their trans rites, rites. Okay? Like, people, I love that people think I haven't thought about this. I love that people think I don't know what I'm talking about because, like I said, I was in this cult starting in 2005. Got out of it. I wasn't fully out of it until 2014. I was partially out of it in 2012 because someone asked me a basic question that shattered my entire belief, and that question was, what is a woman? Okay. Yep, Eric Strand, they're lifelong wound care patients. That is absolutely true. Oh, thanks, Jing Blog. Merry Christmas to you, too. Thoughts on Blair White? Well, what about him? He's a gay man pretending to be a woman in a gay relationship with another guy. It's pretty obvious that he wanted to be famous, and him transing out made him more famous. So I guess mission accomplished there. I don't like him. He's annoying. He's clearly a narcissist. Um, Whatever, Happy Christmas, dude. He's in a delusion that people like to uh what's the word? Placate. People like to placate his delusion. Okay, is there anything else y'all want to say? Anything y'all want me to talk about? Because I will. Now that we're here, why not? I guess part of the issue here is that many people who are quote unquote medical professionals, when they are pushed on their beliefs, not pushed on their beliefs, when they are probed on their beliefs, when they are presented with a belief that goes outside of the line of medical thinking, they kind of panic because they don't want to be questioning the medical practice. They want the medical practice to be right. They want the medical practice to be justified. They want the medical practice to be the most high tech thing possible. And a lot of the times it's not. And also, for that matter, a lot of people who are medical professionals get they have this magical thinking. They have this magical belief about that medicine is just the answer to everything, and that's just not true. The traditional approach of medicine is just the answer to everything, and that's absolutely not true. Sorry, Paula, I do not know why that is. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've already said this in multiple videos. But yeah, I mean, I used to be on the complete opposite side of this issue. And I feel like, you know what? I guess people aren't going to listen just because that's a fact. They're not going to listen because they don't want to hear you. They don't want to know the real reason. And also, just the fact that when you ask them very, very basic questions about their belief, they feel attacked. It's like, I'm sorry you feel attacked because you don't fully understand what your belief even is. And I'm sorry you feel attacked when someone asks a basic fucking question about it. Also, people who have the trans surgeries, they're not functioning afterwards. Like I said earlier, if you get any type of cosmetic surgery, you're supposed to be fully functioning afterwards. And with the trans surgeries, you are not. You know? Um, Especially when you get your arm skin removed. That one's real scary. I can't roll up my sleeve. Oh, I guess I can. When you get your arm skin removed, they remove a big fucking chunk of your arm right here and sew it onto your genital area, which is really fucking weird. Um, but that it ruins your arm. Your arm is no longer completely functioning like it was before. I imagine same with your thigh. When they pull out a chunk of your thigh to sew it on to your genitals area. I can't imagine that I mean, does it feel good to have a scar that big? I'm sure it doesn't. I'm sure it feels really horrible to have had a skin graft under any circumstances, especially when you don't fucking need one. Unbelievable. I'm looking at Pirate. You can't really see him though. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry. I had the microphone area covered up for a little bit. Okay, good. I moved my phone a little bit, but I wasn't sure if I was covering the mic. Okay. I think that's enough for now. But thank you all so much for coming. If you want to do me a really big favor, you can comment on this once it becomes an actual video. What are street chocolates? I don't know what that is. What's a street chocolate? Are you talking about something else? I guess I can just say this, okay? And I'm sure I've said it in other videos in the past, but I am so sick, like I said, of saying this shit. I know every single argument as to why people want to believe in transgenderism. Okay, I know every single thing they're going to pull out of the bag, every single thing they're going to say, all of the reiterated, regurgitated phrases. I know what they are, and I can refute every single one of them. Like, if you really are like triggered by someone questioning your beliefs, and if you have to do these displays of loyalty to the cult that you're in, if you have to do these displays of loyalty to your beliefs, are you comfortable in that belief? The answer is you're not. And that's why people love these mantras. That's why people say these mantras. That's why we have these mantras to start, is that people just want to believe the things that they have mantras for. And that's why more people should be religious, because there are mantras for that, but they actually make more sense. I don't know what street chocolates are. We don't really, that's not really a term we use over here, as far as I'm aware. I got this dude at work who right into trans stuff. I trigger him all the time. Good, keep doing it. Hi, Jetster. Yeah, it's a live stream. Oh, it's a brand of chocolate. Okay, I'm not familiar. I'm sorry. I'm so sick of saying this again and again and again. Like I said, we know right from wrong. We can differentiate right from wrong. We actually have that ability, okay? And to act like we don't is just very foolish. And acting like you don't is just not, it's just insane, honestly. We know there are things that are right and things that are wrong. And one of those things that's wrong is treating people with surgeries and hormones that don't fucking work and don't accomplish what they are going to accomplish. That's another fucking thing that anyone in the medical industry should know is wrong. If you break your leg, you go to the hospital and you get a cast, and then eventually you get that cast taken off once it's healed. Voila, healed leg. You're supposed to go there, get a treatment that works, and leave. None of these treatments or surgeries ever turn anyone into the biological sex that they are not. And it's never going to happen. So why do they do it? And this isn't something like, this isn't some kind of medical problem that you can kind of treat. Like, I know that you can sometimes kind of treat people with certain allergies. You can, there are methods to make the allergies less. There are methods to make the allergies not as pervasive, but they can't ever cure you of your allergy. They can treat you for it as best they can, and they do the best they can, but it's not going to actually fix the problem completely. I used to work in a place where women were specifically hired, but they hired a trans. He was so annoying and cringe, it made me uncomfortable. Why am I not surprised, Lone Wolf? Also, hiring people because you're ticking a diversity box is fucked up. And I don't like if you literally hired that person just to tick a diversity box, that's fucked up and wrong. Like, fight me. Should you hire someone who is capable of doing the job, or should you hire someone who makes your workplace look more diverse? I'm really not comfortable with the fact that that's happening so much. And it's happening a lot because they want to be diverse. And yeah, I have a problem with that, and everyone should have a problem with that. And everyone should stop pandering to these people. Like, we've got to stop pandering to them. That's my New Year's resolution for the greater society is stop pandering. Stop it. It is outrageous. At this rate, I was going to say something about pandering. What was I going to say? What was I going to say about pandering? I think I forgot. What was I talking about a second ago? Okay, I was talking about ticking a box and pandering. I forgot. I dressed up as an elf for a vid, and I will be putting it up later. Not this vid, I just happened to be dressed up, and I was like, I really wanted to do this live stream, so I was like, why not do it in this outfit? Which I love, and I would wear it every day if I could. I just like being an elf. That's all. And also, like, trying to make this subject matter a little bit more pleasant than it is. It's not super pleasant. Thanks, Paula. I love it too. Check is here. Check, are you a trans dog? Should we give you pills to make you more like a St. Bernard? Or a border collie? Something you ain't ever gonna be? He's like, nope. I'm Czech. High school. He says hi and that he loves you. He loves you, Lone Wolf. He's a good boy. Yeah, I wish I didn't have to talk about this. I wish that this were a thing of the past. I wish that I didn't have to make this same fucking video again and again and again, but I'm gonna have to. Like, it's not good for us to be pandering to the trans cult. I remembered what I was gonna say a minute ago. Okay. So I took a class at a community college, which I'm not going to do again because there are too many liberal all young folk like this out and about. Um, and we were instructed to just kind of introduce ourselves to each other. And I could tell this person, she was a woman, obviously, had dyed crazy color hair. And she was only 18, so I'll give her some slack. But she was like, so we were instructed to talk with our neighbors. So we talked with our neighbors, and I knew she was going to ask this. And then, of course, she asked this, which was, what are your gender pronouns? And I said, I'm mature enough not to care how people refer to me when I'm not in the room. And she completely ignored it. No, Lone Wolf, I didn't watch that. Can you describe it to me? I heard of it. What happened? Give me a synopsis. sorry, it's too dark. You can't see him that well. Yeah, Paula, I have 2 cats. And one is laying right in front of the camera, but I can't get a shot of him. I imagine it was a shit show. Because why would it have made history? If they're an organized video making group, then I'm sure they had some sort of agenda. Yeah, that's how everyone should respond, school, because that's what it is people, how people refer to you when you are not there. You don't say she, her when you're speaking directly to someone. Of course, they're left-leaning. I don't know them. I do know them, but I don't watch their videos regularly. But yeah, of course they're left-leaning, because why wouldn't they be? Okay, it's okay, it's okay. He like rolled over a little bit and then spooked himself. I wish I didn't have to keep saying this. I wonder if one day I won't have to. I will. One day. It'll happen in my lifetime. I'll be like 60 and I'll get to say, I told you so. But it's gonna happen. So is your name Paula or Paul A? Because if you don't want it to be Paul A in the chat, then you might need to switch up your username. You might need to make it Paula _ and then the numbers. Oh, okay. Well, that must be because the chat doesn't always recognize every character, which is weird because it's YouTube, so it should, but I guess it doesn't. Pirate's trying to wreak havoc with the doggo right now. It's funny. Okay, Paul A. Sorry, I was calling you Paula. My mistake. See, I thought you were Paul A. And then I thought you might be Paula. But now I know you're Paul A. That's how tired I am. To keep saying this shit about the trans cult. And it is, in fact, a cult. Like, it's not a coincidence that these numbers skyrocketed over, like, 100% increases once everyone and their kids got smartphones. Like, think about it. Think about it. That's the thing, is that people don't really examine their own beliefs. They don't really try to find the sources to things. They just take what's popular and run with it. And that spells PROBLEM. Pirate's giving me a look. I just saw your comment, Paul A. Yeah, actually, I have noticed that. That's quite the thing here in Portland. The diehard liberals still wearing masks. I mean, I just cannot with certain people. I cannot with the masks. I cannot with a lot of things. I met a doggo recently. There is, I think I've mentioned this, I might have mentioned this in another video, I don't remember, there's an illness going, there's a virus going around with dogs here in Portland. I don't know if it's happening in other, I think it is being documented in other parts of the state, maybe in some surrounding states, but I don't fully know what it is at this point. But I met a really cute dog and her owner the other day, and the owner was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We're not having her greet because of that virus that's going around." And this dog was really cute, really friendly. And like, I just don't believe in living your life that way. I don't believe in limiting your dog's much needed social interactions that way because you're afraid she might possibly get the virus that you don't even know for sure she's going to get. What I would do if I were her is I would ask, has your dog shown any signs of illness recently? And then let her greet. Because it's just insane to never let your dog greet anyone because you're afraid she might get a virus. And that's what I also thought was really insane about the pandemic was parents were literally prohibiting their poor children from socializing, like at all. And it got to the point of it being very ridiculous, you know, to the point where you're like, uh, being unreasonable, because if the kids and their parents didn't show any signs of COVID, like by all means, let them play, idiots. Okay. You're in Perth, Paul A. Lucky. This is Pirates. You see, there it is. Oh my gosh. He's got it. Okay, you guys. I think I might actually do another live stream that's completely unrelated. But if you want any more content like this, if you want to see my similar content where I said shit like this all fucking day, every day, verbatim, multiple times a day, multiple times a week, scroll on back and you can find those vids. I'm no longer a radical feminist, but I still don't believe in the trans cult, and no one should because it's bad for society, it's bad for our children, and it's nonsense.